हो गया, वेरी गुड। हो गया, हो गया सर, हो गया। बात कर लो। नहीं नहीं, जरूरत नहीं, कनेक्ट होगा, छोड़ना, अब कुछ करना, कुछ नहीं करना, होगा पीछे बोल दे उन्होंने, वहां से आ गया, हमसे कनेक्ट हो गया सर, वो बोल दिया पीछे से कोई।
Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramana. On behalf of Ramana Kendra Delhi, I am happy to welcome you all to the online celebration of Bhagwan's 141st Jayanti. It is indeed a very blessed moment full of his divine grace. Over the next 2 hours, we will all participate in Ganesh Puja, Kalash Puja, and Pran Pratishtha Puja being performed at the Kendra by Narayananji. Dr. Anand Ramanan, President of Sri Ramanashramam, shall share his thoughts and would also welcome our keynote speaker, Swami Sarvapriyananda ji, spiritual leader of Vedanta Society of New York. Sri Adarsh Bhatiani, Vice President of Ramana Kendra, will then express his vote of thanks to Swamiji on behalf of all of us. Sri Ilangovan Govindrajan and Srimati Jayanti Iyer, two of our prolific artists who have been expressing their devotion to Bhagwan through music and their devotional songs, shall share bhajans and other music. May I please request everyone to keep their microphones on mute. Narayananji, kindly commence with your puja now.
Achyutaya Namaha, Vandaya Namaha, Govindaya Namaha. Uklam Vardhanam Vishnu Shachivarnam Chaturabhujam Prasannavadhanam Dhyaye Sarva Vighnopashantye. Ayam Murta Samusa Dosundo, Mandono Karando, Ayam Murta Samusa Dosu, Tadeva Naganam Sadinam Tadeva, Naravalam Chandravalam Tadeva, Vidyavalam Devavalam Tadeva, Nastupade Tendrim Prami, Om Go, Om Bhuva, Om Shiva, Om Maha, Om Jana, Om Tava, Om Tava, Om Satyam, Om Tatsudharvavanyam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimi, Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat, Om Avadhutam Murvosvara. नमो पाता समस्त दुर्गा कैत्वारा परमेश्वर नित्यतम करिष्यमानस्य कर्मणा निर्वेगेन प्रदानन्तमादो विवेक पूजां करिष्ये विद्या मेषुस्कुरुद्री सुदलवदत्त गुरुदेवदा विद्या ददा लोकादेवतं विष्णुनाथुदा स्वंच तारमं देवीपुत्रं गुरुदासनं आगमातु देवानां कमनातु रक्षासां अंधारों मराम्यादो देवतानां नमो पाता समस्त दुर्गा कैत्वारा परमेश्वर नित्यतम निर्वेदा नित्यतम आदो विवेक पूजां करिष्ये गणानां गणपतिं नमामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पदे आरुष्टुरनुपुष्टे सादरम् अस्मिन्मरित्राबिम्बे महागणपतिं ध्यायामि महागणपतिम् आवाहयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः शरणं समर्पयामि। महागणपतिये नमः अर्घ्यं समर्पयामि। महागणपतिये नमः समर्पयामि। महागणपतिये नमः पुण्यं समर्पयामि। महागणपतिये नमः उपधारिणतां समर्पयामि। महागणपतिये नमः तारान्तरमात्मनीं समर्पयामि।
महागणपतये नमः वस्त्रदातम् अक्षतां समर्पयामि महागणपतये नमः यज्ञोपवीतार्थम् अक्षतां समर्पयामि महागणपतये नमः गन्धाकारयामि समर्पयामि महागणपतये नमः गन्धोपरि अक्षतां समर्पयामि महागणपतये नमः गन्धनाथम् अक्षतां समर्पयामि महागणपतये नमः रुद्राकुङ्कुमं समर्पयामि महागणपतये नमः पुष्पै पूजयामि ओम कुमुदाय नमः ओम एकदन्ताय नमः ओम कपिलाय नमः ओम गजगर्णकाय नमः ओम लंबोदराय नमः ओम विगणाय नमः ओम विघ्नराजाय नमः ओम विनायकाय नमः ओम धूमकेतवे नमः ओम गणाध्यक्षाय नमः ओम बालचंद्राय नमः ओम गजाननाय नमः ओम वक्रतुंडाय नमः ओम सूर्पकर्णाय नमः ओम हेरंबाय नमः ओम स्कंदमूर्धवाय नमः ओम सिद्धविनायकरे नमः ओम शंकरमोक्षविनायकरे नमः ओम मातुपुरपरे विनायकरे नमः ओम महागणपतये नमः नानाविध परिमल पत्र पुष्पाणि समर्पयामि धूपार्थं समर्पयामि दीपार्थं समर्पयामि अक्षरां समर्पयामि ओम भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् देवी सवितृ सत्यं दौर्गेण त्वं स्वाहा प्राणाय स्वाहा स्वाम्याय समाने स्वाहा ब्रह्मणे स्वाहा महागणपतये नमः महागणपतये नमः महागणपतये नमः पुरगंड गोसीरं कदलीफल निवेद्यं समर्पयामि मध्ये मध्ये वार्यं अमृतोपधापुत्रावसं समर्पयामि नीराजं समर्पयामि नीराजनत्रम् आत्मनियं समर्पयामि कर्पूरं समर्पयामि गणानां गणपतिकं अवामे कविं कवीनां वसत्रमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पते आनन्दं सीतावरं महागणपतये नमः महागणपतये नमः महागणपतये नमः कर्पूरं समर्पयामि नीराजनं समर्पयामि नीराजनानन्तरम् आसमनीयं समर्पयामि ओम प्राणाय स्वाहा ज्ञानाय स्वाहा उदाराय स्वाहा समानाय स्वाहा ब्रह्मणे स्वाहा महागणपतये नमः महागणपतये नमः महागणपतये नमः वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गणपति प्रसादं श्रद्धा प्रणामि ओम भूम तुहं महं तव ओम सत्यं सुब्रह्मण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् ओम ज्योतिषामृतमुर्मस्वरम् ममो पाताय समस्त दुर्ग एकबार परमेश विद्यत्वं सुबे सोमने मूर्ते आद्य ब्रह्मण विद्य परार्थे वेदे स्वतंत्रे अष्टादशनवमे कलियुगे प्रथमे पादे जम्बूद्वीपे भारतवर्षे वर्धखण्डे मेरो दक्षिणे पार्श्वे ललाटे अस्मिन् वर्तमाने यावावृत्त प्रभादिनां तस्य संवत्सराणां मध्ये रमणनाम संवत्सरे दक्षिणायने कार्वरी वर्षे हेमंत ऋतु मार्गरी मासे कृष्णपक्षे गुरुवायुरुत्तायां प्रथमे द्वितीये गुरुवायुरुत्तायां पुनर्वसु नक्षत्रयुक्तायां शुभ नक्षत्र शुभ योग शुभ कर्ण एवं गुण विशेषण विशिष्टायां अस्यां चतुर्थ्यां शुभ तिथौ मम जन्म प्रति एतच्चन पर्यन्तं सत्ये संभावितानां सर्वेषां भावानां सत्य अवनोदार्थं सकल गुणमान क्षेम सत्य वीर्य विजय आयुरारोग्य ऐश्वर्य अभिवृद्ध्यर्थं समस्त मंगलार्थं समस्त दुर्दोषशान्त्यर्थं रमणवर्षीय प्रसादेन ज्ञान वैराग्य सिद्ध्यर्थं श्री रमणवर्षीय पूजां करिष्ये तरंगं कलश पूजां स करिष्ये विश्वमिदा स्थानं प्रतिष्ठापयामि शोभनार्थे शमाय पुनरागमनाय सह सत्य मुखे विष्णु कंडे रुद्र समाजितं मूले तंत्र सिद्धतो ब्रह्मा मंत्रे मंत्र का संबंधा उषम तु सागरा सर्वे शब्द तुला सुंदरा विवेद वज्रवेद सामोद पदरण गंगे से तग्न सके गोदावरी चतुर्दी नर्मदे सिद्धता वेरी जनित सती गुरु अंगे से कैसा सर्वे कर्ता अमृत समाजिता आयं देव पूजा सुंदर शकारगा तम बुरा सागर पन्नो विष्णु करे देवे से पूज सर्वे पांचने नमोस्तुते देवो देवालय पुत्र जीवो देव स्नानन अज्ञान निर्मार्यं सोयाम्भवने पूजयेत् ओम सकल गुणात्म शक्तियुक्ता योग पीडात्मने नमः आधार शक्तिये नमः मूल प्रकृतिये नमः आदि वराय नमः आदि कूर्माय नमः आनंदाय नमः पृथ्व्यै नमः आदित्यादि नवग्रह देवताभ्यो नमः दश दिग्बालेभ्यो नमः गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः ओम अस्य श्री प्राणप्रतिष्ठानन्दस्य ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर ऋषिरेति सामदर्वाणि संतांसि सकल जगत्स्थिति सम्मार्गाणि प्राणशक्ति परादेवता आम बीजम हरिं शक्ति रोम कीलकम प्राणप्रतिष्ठापने विनियोग आम अंगुष्ठाभ्यां नमः हरिं दर्जनीभ्यां नमः रोम मध्यमाभ्यां नमः आम अनाभिभ्यां नमः हरिं वनिष्ठाभ्यां नमः रोम कंडलपुष्ठाभ्यां नमः आम तृतीयाय नमः हरिं शिरसे स्वाहा रोम सिगाय वसट आम कौसायम हरिं नेत्रदाय वसट रोम हस्तदाय पट गुरुवचरो दिग्बंध ध्यानम रक्तांबोधिस्त बोधोलस कर्मसर्वकराप्ते पासं बोधन विष्णुत्व मणिगुणवंत पंचमानात् विप्राण सुकवालं जनलिता पिनवतोरत्या देवी बाला गौरना बहुसुरी प्राण शक्तिपरान ओम हरिं क्रोम ओम ओम हरिं माम अम्यम रमलम वंशम शम्मः अंशसोहम सोमंश अस्यामुतो जीवदृष्टु अस्यामुतो सर्वेन्द्रियाणि वाङ्मनस्व सस्सूत्र दिव्या प्राणवाक् पाणिपाद आयुपुस्तानि या कस्ते स्वस्ति सुगम सुरं दृष्टन्तु स्वाहा ओम अस्य श्री प्राणविष्टा मंदस्य ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा ऋषिरिति सामधर्माणि संतांसि सकल जगत्स्थिति सम्मार्गाणि प्राणशक्ति परादेवता आम बीजम हरिं शक्ति रोम कीलकम प्राणप्रतिष्ठापने विनियोग आम अंगुष्ठाभ्यां नमः हरिं दर्जनीभ्यां नमः रोम मध्यमाभ्यां नमः आम अनाभिभ्यां नमः हरिं वनिष्ठाभ्यां नमः रोम कंडलपुष्ठाभ्यां नमः आम कुंडियाय नमः हरिं शिरसे स्वाहा रोम सिगाय वसट आम कौसायम हरिं नेत्रदाय वसट रोम हस्तदाय पट गुरुवचरो दिग्बंध असुनीदे पुनरस्मात् सत्स पुनः प्राणमेन योगम योगपस्य में सूर्य मुचक्र मनमदे बड़ियान शक्ति आवायुदो भव शब्दादिदो भव खंडितो भव सन्निधो भव अवगुंडितो भव सुब्रतो भव सुप्रसन्नो भव सुमुखो भव वरदो भव प्रसिद्ध प्रसिद्ध स्वामी सर्वजगन्नाथ यावत् पूजावसानकं तावत् ध्रुवं विभावेन बिंदेस्मिन् सन्निधं कुरु ओम नमो भगवते श्री कुशेलाय नमः नमो भगवते श्री कुबेराय नमः चतुर्नोदि मंत्रन पौलसे पलसर्पः लक्ष्मी प्रदक्षिमानंद प्रिय ईश्वरा चतुर्नोदि मंत्रन पौलसे पलसर्पः लक्ष्मी प्रदक्षिमानंद प्रिय ईश्वरा अरुणाचल श्री रमणाय नमः अरुणाचल श्री रमणाय नमः अरुणाचल श्री रमणाय नमः I will recite the Ashtotram now. 108 Satanamavali of Bhagavan. He Gurubhyo Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Avara Sakti Suvarya Shorya Shorya Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Bhuvaidam Tam Namram Gaviram Sindavirinam Nirvisindayami. ओम महासेन महोंसेन जाताय नमः ओम श्री रमणाय नमः। ओम गुरवे नमः। ओम अखंड संविदागराय नमः। ओम महोदसे नमः। ओम कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ओम जगद्विदावताराय नमः। ओम श्री योगिनाथलोकिताय नमः। ओम पराशरकुलोकंसाय नमः। ओम सुंदरात्मकलाय नमः। ओम अवनीय सुखाय नमः। ओम सयायाम्बा सयायवते नमः। ओम सोमातुल बहुरी मानसाय नमः। ओम स्वर्णहस्तलाय नमः। ओम श्रीमद्वादशान्तमात्रे लक्ष्मीविद्योदयाय नमः। ओम महाशक्तिनिवालेन प्रमुक्ताय नमः। ओम परमार्थविदे नमः। ओम दिव्याय नमः। ओम पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ओम हिन्दुमौलिनामिन्द्रपदे नमः। ओम दुर्गादेवशोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ओम अभोमयाय नमः। ओम उदासीनाय नमः। ओम महायोगिने नमः। ओम महोत्साय नमः। ओम कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ओम शामसंकल्प संप्रवाय नमः। ओम सुसुसे नमः। ओम सवित्रे नमः। ओम स्थिराय नमः। ओम तपस्वीद संपन्नाय नमः। ओम कुलांकुद विलोचनाय नमः। ओम चंद्रिकास्मिताश्री मंडिताय मंगलाय नमः। ओम भूतवाद्यां समाधीनाय नमः। ओम सूर्यसाक्षर विप्रमाय नमः। ओम वेद वेदांत तत्त्वाय नमः। ओम श्रीशुद्धवे नमः। ओम त्रिगुणाधिकाय नमः। ओम विरूपाक्ष भुवावासाय नमः। ओम विराजतसुरानुते नमः। ओम उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ओम भूताय नमः। ओम सच्चिदानंदतांडवाय नमः। ओम गंभीराय नमः। ओम परमाचार्याय नमः। ओम सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ओम अव्यक्ताय नमः। ओम दक्षिणास्तित्वाय नमः। ओम धीराय नमः। ओम दक्षिणाधिपुराय नमः। ओम स्वराय नमः। ओम भगवतीये नमः। ओम भगवते नमः। ओम दिव्याय नमः। ओम भूमविद्याशारदाय नमः। ओम निवाय नमः। ओम दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ओम आप्ताय नमः। ओम सुजमार्गप्रदर्शनाय नमः। ओम समत्सुते नमः। ओम सत्यत्वते नमः। ओम सत्याय नमः। ओम प्रशांताय नमः। ओम अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ओम सुकुमाराय नमः। ओम सदानंदाय नमः। ओम मृदुवासिने नमः। ओम दयातमाय नमः। ओम श्री सोनासुरगुरुनाय नमः। ओम सत्सर्वोपदेशकरे नमः। ओम सद्भक्तवृत्तपरिपूताय नमः। ओम गणेश मुनिप्रियेण सेविताय नमः। ओम गीतोपदेशसाराय नमः। ओम वर्णाश्रमदाय नमः। ओम प्रसन्नाय नमः। ओम सौभद्याय नमः। ओम आत्मवते नमः। ओम सर्वाधिपदस्थानां महाराज्याय नमः। ओम सर्वशक्तिने नमः। ओम आत्मारामाय नमः। ओम महाभागाय नमः। ओम मातृविनायकाय नमः। ओम विरदाय नमः। ओम विपुलाय नमः। ओम विपुलाय नमः। ओम रुद्राय नमः। ओम पावकोज्वलाय नमः। ओम दशनागमसंहारिणे नमः। ओम मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ओम नित्यादिकर्तानित्याय नमः। प्रणतमोदकाय नमः ओम अन्तस्थिरकण्डासवे नमः ओम संसारवर्णकारकाय नमः ओम सोणादिअस्तिष्करे नमः ओम आत्मविद्याप्रकाशाय नमः ओम अभिषेकविजयाय नमः ओम नैसर्गिकमहाकवचे नमः ओम कमंडलाय नमः ओम सुप्रगौरी नमस्ताय नमः ओम भुवाय नमः ओम दंडवाणये नमः ओम त्रिपापूर्णाय नमः ओम भवरोगप्रशक्ताय नमः ओम स्कंदाय नमः ओम देवताय नमः ओम अमर्त्याय नमः ओम सेनापतिये नमः ओम सोत्तमाय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री रमणाथ श्री रमणाय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री अरुणाथ श्री रमणाय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री अरुणाथ श्री रमणाय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री कार्तिकाय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री मुरुगाय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री वल्ली देवाय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री सुब्रमण्याय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री स्वामिनाथने नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री दक्षिणामूर्तिये नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री नटराजरे नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री भैरवरे नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री नंदीमहेश्वराय नमः ओम नमो भगवते श्री शिव पार्वतीये नमः हरि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम। सर्व का टाइम है and we recite Uday Saram, sir.
Sure, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay. Let us all chant Uday Saram. In 5 minutes we will finish it off. Katturagaya prapade palam karma himbaram karma tajjanam Devi Madado Adana Karanam Palamasaswadam Gadanirodhagam Ishwaratidam Nechayakudam Chittasodaram Muktisadam Kayavamana Ayamuttamam Bhujanamjava Chittanandama Jagateishwari Yugdadevanam Ashtamurti Devapujanam Uttamastava Nutyamantra Siddhajamjata Jnanamuttamam Adyadaraya Sodasasamam Saralacintanam Viraladabaram Vedavavana Sauvapityasav Bhavana Gita Bhavanimada Bhavashunyasa Bhavasustubhi Bhavanabala Bhaktiruddhama Ilsalemana Svastamatriya Bhakti Yoga Bodhasinistitam Vayurodhana Priyadevana Jnanabhakshiva Rodasadhanam Chittavayava Priyayuga Sadhayorvahi Shakti Muraka Daya Vinasane Ubhayarodhane Dayakadam Puna Bhavadino Mudam Panavandana Dinamanasam Ekachindana Asanegyada Ashtamanaso Krishna Yogina Nityamastivim Swastikam Jada Krishyavarinam Siddhamamana Siddhadarshanam Tattvadarsanam Manasam Tugim Margane Tude Naiva Manasam Margabhyama Vrityayasvam विचारणम् कालविनाशमा यामहंतया सुरधियं स्वयं परमपूजस इदमहं भगा अभिज्ञमन्त्रम् कालविलीनते अप्यलसत्तया निग्रहेन्द्रिय प्राणजीतमा नामसेकस सत्वभाषिका विश्ववेदना सत्यया इति नित्ययायम् ईशजीवयो देशदीपिता सत्वभावतो वस्तु केवलम् देशहानद स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपत आत्मसंस्थिति स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्दया आत्मनिष्ठा ज्ञानवर्जिता अज्ञानहीनते ज्ञानमस्ति ज्ञानमन्तरम् किं स्वरूपमि आत्मदर्शने अव्ययमवा पूर्णचित्सुखम् बन्धमुक्त्यदि संपरं सुखम् विन्दति यदि वस्तुदैविक आत्मवेदनम् विनिपाननम् महतितं तमो महतितं तमो रमणमाख्यम् महतितं तमो रमणमाख्यम्.
Rananji, thank you so much. Now, I'm quite happy to welcome Dr. Anand Ramanan, President of Sri Ramanashramam, to address all the devotees, and also welcome Swami Sarvapriyananda ji. Dr. Ramanan.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. A very happy Jayanti to all our friends. Today is the 141st Jayanti of the birthless one. Today is, by celebrating his Jayanti, we are actually reaffirming our rebirth in him and in his grace. The highest tribute we can pay to our Guru, our Master, is a sincere practice of his teachings with a complete faith. Bhagavan Ramana came to open a path to those who seek truth in all religions the world over. He reopened the path, the direct path of self-inquiry, with its theoretical basis in Advaita, which had become too arduous for our spiritually dark age. He came to help men overcome the powerful illusion of the ego and abide in the perfect bliss of the self. He said, "You're nothing other than the self. The universe is a mere manifestation of the self. There are no others. By discarding the illusion of otherness, you can realize the identity with the self, which always was, is, and will be beyond the conditions of time and life." His teaching is simple, direct, requiring no rituals or forms of worship, no priesthood or congregation, no outward signs or special observances. It can be practiced in the workshop, kitchen, city office, as well as in the monastery or hermitage. It can be practiced in very good times or also in troubled times like today. All the more reason as today. The spiritual development is now and in the present, since it is necessary to discover what you are now and in eternity, not what you will be when you die. The ancient path of self-inquiry was to be followed by the recluse in silence and solitude, withdrawn from the outer world. But by adapting an ancient path to modern conditions, Sri Bhagavan has made it a path to be followed invisibly in the conditions of the modern life in the world. He never encouraged anyone to give up their life in the world. He said that it is only exchanging the thought, I am an householder, for the thought, I am a sannyasi. One only needs to reject the thought, I am the doer, and remember only I am. The vichara can be done in the city as well as in the jungle. No one is excluded, no one is too low or high. No one is too small or too great for this path. One challenges oneself by performing nishkamya karma in the external world, all the while holding on to one's spiritual identity. Leading an active external life while pursuing Atma Vichara will only ripen one's spiritual progress. Bhagavan's life was also his message. Bhagavan lived in this world for 54 years after his realization, performing daily activities like every human, proving that it's possible to be in the world but not of it. By his actions, he proved that virtues like love, compassion, friendliness, humility, patience, charity, and integrity were no contradictions to spiritual path, but are a natural occurrence to one on the path. Friends, today, due to the COVID virus, many of us are facing social isolation. However, for us, the devotees of Sri Bhagavan, these are unique opportunities to practice his teachings, to get solace, and to further our spiritual progress. We have woken up from a pleasant dream of worldly pleasures to the reality of our purpose in this human birth. We can clearly see the mirage-like reality of the external world. We can perceive that the only reality in all these happenings is the observer, us. This is a unique opportunity to turn inwards towards the ever-present Atman. And we are assured of Bhagavan's protection always. The fear of death will be quelled by the practice of Bhagavan's teachings and by his compassionate grace. When G.V. Subramaya asked Bhagavan for the boon of abhayam, deliverance from fear of death, Bhagavan categorically assured the devotee, Ichchanu, granted. We are all similarly assured of this protection. During these times, we have to remember Bhagavan's teaching to surrender ourselves to the God and Guru and place all our burdens at his feet. As he said, it is God who sustains the burden of the world, but the spurious ego pretends to assume the burden, grimacing like the image on a temple tower that is depicted as supporting the structure. If a traveler boards a train and does not set his luggage down, but rather carries it painfully on his head, whose fault is it? This is from Ulladu Narpadu Anubandham. I would now like to introduce Swami Sarvapriyananda ji. He is a spiritual leader of Vedanta Society of New York, which is founded by Swami Vivekananda in 1894. Swamiji continues the rich tradition of a continuous linkage between Swamijis from the Ramakrishna Mutt and Ramanashramam. This was present from Bhagavan's days and continues to this day. Swamiji's exposition of Advaita Vedanta is absolutely crystal clear. I am reminded, listening to his talks in the YouTube, of an experience of listening to the former president of Ramakrishna Mutt, Sri Swami Ranganananda in the late 80s when he came to the Ramanashrama. I don't remember much, but I remember one sentence which struck a deep chord in a young person. He said, he addressed ego and said, "Ego, ye go." Without much coming in between Swamiji and the august audience, I wish to say my namaskaram to everybody. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Thank you, Dr. Ramanan, for your warm welcome. We are blessed to have Swami Sarvapriyananda between us. As we all know, he is the spiritual leader of Vedanta Society of New York and has addressed Ramana devotees in US at multiple points in time. This is the first time he would be addressing Ramana Kendra, Delhi. Swamiji, a very, very warm welcome to you. Over to you.
Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste, everybody, and I hope you can all hear me. Thank you to Dr. Ramanan, President of the Ramana Ashrama, Anurag ji, the Secretary of the Ramana Kendra in New Delhi, for not only organizing this program on the Jayanti of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, but also giving me an opportunity to be here and to speak with all of you over this online medium. When I was going through Sri Ramana Maharshi's teachings, the earliest and the most concise one you can get is the teachings on the who am I. There's this gentleman, Shiva Prakasha Pillai, in 1902, as early as 1902, he went to Ramana Maharshi and asked him a series of questions. Initially, I think 13 questions. Now, this Shiva Prakasha Pillai was actually well trained in philosophy. He was a government officer in the revenue department at that time, but he was a graduate of philosophy. And we are grateful for that, because the questions that he asked are remarkable questions, profound questions. And the answers that Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi gave to Shiva Prakasha Pillai are the very essence of Vedanta. There's some disturbance going on. I think everybody should mute, right? Yes. So what you find in the answers given by Bhagavan to Shiva Prakasha Pillai are the very essence of Advaita Vedanta. In fact, those answers were written down. He was not feeling like speaking at that time, so he wrote down answers to those questions. And nowadays you get the book everywhere. It's called Who Am I? Nanyar. And sometimes you wonder that is it necessary at all to read or study Advaita Vedanta once you have just that one book? 40 verses on reality and all other books came later on, but that just one compilation of questions and answers, it is so beautifully, it summarizes the central teachings of non-dual Vedanta and in such a practical way. Is it any necessary to read Upanishads or Brahma Sutras or Bhagavad Gita? Well, yes and no. The more you know about Advaita Vedanta, even theoretically, if you study the texts, the more you come to appreciate the beauty, the conciseness, and the directness of the teachings of Ramana Maharshi. So there in this book, Shiva Prakasha Pillai goes and asks Ramana Maharshi, the first question is the simplest, direct, and most important question. Who am I? And we all know Bhagavan is known by this unique teaching of the inquiry, self-inquiry into who am I. I had heard this story, and later it was confirmed that it is authentic, that a gentleman who was not particularly interested in the self-inquiry method, it's a very simple devotional nature. So he went and asked Ramana Maharshi that, I really don't understand, I'm not very inspired by your method of, who am I, inquiry, self-inquiry, but I am devoted to Narayana. Is it all right? Bhagavan, of course, smiled and replied, yes, it is all right. Oh, it's all right. Yes. So after death, will I go to Vaikuntha? Bhagavan said, yes, you will go to Vaikuntha. Oh, I will go to Vaikuntha. And will I be able to see Narayana, my beloved Narayana? Bhagavan said, yes, you will see Narayana. And will Narayana see me? Will the Lord Narayana look at me in Vaikuntha? And Bhagavan said, yes, he will look at you. Oh, he will look at me. Oh, will he speak to me? Will he speak to me? Bhagavan said, yes, he will speak to you. Narayana will speak to you. Oh, really? Narayana will speak to me. What will he say? What will he say to me? And Bhagavan said, he will say to you, find out who am I. So this who am I is a sort of unique message of the methodology given by Ramana Maharshi. And there we find the first question asked by Shiva Prakash Pillai is, who am I? And Bhagavan's answer is very interesting. He does not say, you are the Atman, you are Satchidananda, you are the self, you are awareness, pure consciousness. No. He says, I am not this body. I am not the 5 sense organs. I am not the 5 motor organs, Jnanendriya, Karmendriya. I am not the 5 pranas. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. And I am not even the ajnana, the ignorance which lies beyond mind and intellect. I am none of these. And he stops there. It's very interesting that when you're asked, who am I? He does not give a direct answer to who am I. He says, who I am not. This is where the Atma Anatma Vichara of Advaita Vedanta becomes important. Why should we learn who I am not, and how do we appreciate this teaching? How do we grasp it? So the reason why he gave this answer is, we are already convinced, we know the answer to the question, who am I? By the way, the question, who am I? That's the form in which it is, and it's perfectly all right. That's how it is taught, and that's how it comes down from Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. It can also be understood as, what am I? The problem with who am I is, who refers to a person. So am I Sarvapriyananda, or am I some other thing, some other person? More than, deeper than that is, what exactly am I? Am I body, mind, or am I something beyond that? So the problem is, when we ask who am I, we already feel we know the answer. I feel I know. Who am I? Here, I, this one, and whatever is inside. So body and the mind. At the most, we might say, I am a mind or a person in this body, embodied person, embodied mind. So we think we know. And first of all, we have to appreciate that we are not this body-mind person, that we are deeply mistaken about our identity. So we have to appreciate that first. Then only the truth will become clear. The first and most obvious answer that comes to us is that I am the body, this physical body. Immediately, if you ask, who are you? I am this. And somebody says, what is this? This is I am this, and this is I. So this double identification with the body, this is where we must start. Ramana Maharshi says, I am not the body. He actually said the 7, the Sapta Dhatu, which makes up this body, I am not that. So I am not the body. But why? Why am I not the body? How am I not the body? I must understand this, and then I must feel it. It's not enough to believe it, that I'm not the body. I feel I'm the body. Why are you telling me I'm not the body? So this is where the various Advaitic inquiry, the techniques help us. It's called Atma Anatma Vichara, an inquiry into what the self is, into what I am and what I am not. One of the ways it proceeds is, the most common one is Savikara Nirvikara. that the body changes. It's a known fact. But Vedanta draws our attention to this fact that your body changes. When you were born, when the body was born, a baby, and notice how it changes into a little child, a little boy or girl, into a teenager, into a young person, a middle-aged person's body, an old person's body. Finally, it dies. So the body undergoes several changes. Not only that, throughout the day it is changing. So many cells are being shed by the body. New cells are being generated. So this body is a series of changes. And yet I have this intuitive feeling that I was in that body. I was the same there. When the baby picture, it is my picture. The teenager's picture is my picture. The young person's picture is my picture. So if I am the same and the body is not the same, it is continuously changing, same and not same, changing and not changing, subject to modification and not subject to modification, how can the two be the same? Savikara, nirvikara cannot be the same. So I, who I feel am the unchanging person, cannot be the changing body. Body is a series of changes. At this point, somebody may ask, wait a minute, it's just playing with words. If body is a series of changes, it's still the same body, but it is changing, just change is going on. Just for example, like the river, when the river Ganga is flowing or the Yamuna is flowing, and water is continuously changing in it. So can't we say it is the same river, just it is flowing? Similarly, it is the same body. Why can't we say that it is just changing? And why say that the body is not the same? So that answer does not work. There's a saying that you cannot bathe in the same river twice. When I go to take a bath in the Ganga or the Yamuna, the water in which I bathe, and maybe next day or in the afternoon when I go to take another bath, it's literally different water. Though we give it the same name, the same river, Ganga or Yamuna, but the water has flowed. Moment to moment, water is changing. It's literally not the same thing at all. Similarly, this body is a stream of changes. And at moment to moment, it's literally not the same thing. And if I am the same person, I'm not multiple persons, the same person, I cannot be the changing body. Savikara, nirvikara. Look at it in another way, a more subtle way. Drashta and drishya. I am the seer, the experiencer, the knower of the body. And the body is something known. And the knower and the known, the seer and the seen, drashta and drishya cannot be the same thing. It's like when I'm looking at something, the eyes are looking at this pen. The pen is the object, drishya, and the eyes are the drashta, seer, in a very naive, simple, direct way. Now notice the eyes are different and the pen is different. These are two different entities. In fact, whatever the eyes see are different from the eyes. The limit of the vision of the eyes, the only thing that the eyes cannot see are the eyes themselves. Whatever you see through the eyes must be different from the eyes. At this point, somebody might say, we see our own eyes. Look into the mirror, Swami. Take a picture, selfie, you will see your own eyes. But that's a reflection of your eyes. And the way the eyes are seeing the pen directly, the eyes cannot see themselves directly. You can see a reflection of your eyes. You can see a picture of your eyes. But the eyes directly cannot turn around and see themselves. The seer and the seen are two different things. And similarly, the body is seen, is an object. You are the seer of the body, drashta. You can see the body, literally you can see the body, you can touch the body, you can even smell the body. Seeing, hearing, taste, touch, all the senses, 5 senses can objectify the body. The body is an object, you are a subject. The body is something known, you are a knower. The body is the seen, you are the seer. Drashta and drishya cannot be the same thing. I have been giving this example recently. A doctor from Scotland sent an email excitedly that I saw a scan of my body and I got the feeling that in this body, in the scanned body, where am I? I, this conscious being, Dr. So-and-so, where am I in this living body? Where is it? It's just a living machine. It's an object. I am the subject. And so the seer and the seen cannot be the same thing. Therefore, I am not the body. In the same way, The sensory system, Ramana Maharshi says, the 5 senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. All right, let's look at it another way. A third way, Jada and Chetana. I am aware of the body. But the body is not aware of me. When I look at the hand, I know I am Sarvapriyananda, I am aware of the hand. Is the hand aware of Sarvapriyananda? Of course not. Even this whole living body, nothing here is aware of me, the experiencer. But I am aware of it. So I am awareness. I am aware, the body is not aware. I am Chetana, consciousness, awareness. And the body is Jada, an object, not aware. That which is aware and that which is not aware, Chetana and Jada, cannot be the same thing. So for these 3 reasons, I am not the body. Because body is changing and I am not changing. Savikara, Nirvikara cannot be the same thing. Body is an object that's seen and I am the seer. Drashta and Drishya cannot be the same thing. I am not the body. The body is Jada, insentient. I am sentient, awareness. Sentient, insentient, Jada and Chetan cannot be the same thing. So I cannot be the body. I am not the body. Bhagavan Maharshi, Ramana Maharshi says, I am not the body because Savikara Nirvikara, Drashta Drishya, and Chetana and Jada, Chit Jada, because of these. And there are a number of other ways of looking at it. I've given only 3. Vedanta has numerous ways. There are 3 approaches to see that I am not the body. Now, these 3 approaches, what should you do with it? First of all, listen carefully. This is called inquiry, self-inquiry. This is the technique. What Ramana Maharshi talks about, inquiring into who am I, noticing the thoughts and asking to whom the thoughts are occurring, that's a subtle technique, a powerful, direct technique. But for that, when you reflect upon the body, why am I not the body? These are the arguments. You listen to these arguments, understand them, and then see that they are true. So 3 levels. First, what is the argument? Savikara, Nirvikara, Chit Jada, Drashta Drishya. What is the argument? Second, do I get the argument? Do I understand it? Does it make sense? Third, see it for yourself. Does it feel real? That this is the thing. I am the knower of this thing. Does it feel real? Should be able to say, yes, it's a fact. Then we get a feel that we are not the body. So am I something more subtler, inward to the body, this personality, the sense organs, the motor organs, the mind? So the personality, the knower with the mind, intellect, sense organs, motor organs, am I this person in the body? Most people would feel that I am a mind. I am a knowing entity. I am embodied. I am not the body. I agree with you there, but I am embodied. I am something embodied. And Ramana Maharshi says, no. You are not the sensory system. You are not the 5 organs of action. You are not the mind. You are not the intellect. Why not? Why not? Same insights will work. Savikara, Nirvikara. The mind and the senses, do they change? Yes, they're changing all the time. So many kinds of thoughts and feelings and emotions, ideas, they stream through our minds. Minds are nothing but thought. Ramana Maharshi has defined it later on. Nature of the mind is thought. Continuously changing thoughts. Savikara, changing, vikara, continuously changing. And I feel I am the one who felt happy. I am the one who felt unhappy. I am the one who was feeling dull. I am the one who is feeling energetic and dull, happy and unhappy, understand, not understand, remember, not unable to remember. All these states of the mind are known by the same I. Then I, the self, if I cannot be identical with the changing mind, savikara, nirvikara. And is the mind known? Is it an object of knowledge? Yes, it is drishya. I am aware of the mind. I am the drashta and the mind is the drishya. Are we not aware of the contents of our mind? We are. So, because the mind is a drishya and I am the drashta, I cannot be the mind. Because the mind is changing, savikara, I am nirvikara, I cannot be the mind. Similarly, because I am chetana, this is a remarkable insight, very important insight. Till now, in modern psychology and philosophy of mind, this distinction between Mind and consciousness has not been made clearly. Mind and consciousness are taken as a bundle. But Vedanta makes a very clear distinction between consciousness and mind. Here, you can see it for yourself. When you think a thought, suppose I think a thought, I am Sarvapriyananda. Now, this is a thought. I am aware of the thought. When I think it, I am aware. Yes, there is a thought. I am Sarvapriyananda. I'm thinking it. There is a thought. I am aware of the thought. Is the thought aware of me? It's a silly question, but we don't ever ask such a question. Is the thought aware of me? I am aware. I am Sarvapriyananda is a thought. That I am Sarvapriyananda, is it aware of me, the conscious knower of the mind? Not at all. It is not at all aware. It cannot be aware. It's just like a mental word, a string of mental words. So, thoughts are not aware. We are aware of the thoughts. We, the awareness shining upon our thoughts, lend it our light. The thoughts feel aware. They feel conscious. This distinction between consciousness and mind, this is very important in Vedanta. Why only Vedanta? Sankhya also, yoga also. But it's not understood in modern psychology or neuroscience yet, so far. So, mind and consciousness are distinct. I am aware of the mind. I am sentient. The mind is insentient. Because of the same reasons, drashta and drishya, chid jada, savikara, nirvikara, I cannot be the mind. This is a very big insight, a very freeing insight. And the very beginning, when the question was asked to Ramana Maharshi, who am I? He said, I am not the body. I am not the sensory system. I am not the mind. For these reasons, which you can get from Vedanta, savikara, nirvikara, drashta and drishyas, chid, jada. These are not only reasons, these are not only arguments, they're actually showing us that we are not the body and mind. You must not only be convinced, you must also see as a fact, that's true, I never thought of it that way. I cannot be the body, I cannot be the mind, or the contents of the mind. Misery comes in the mind. I am miserable. No, you are the knower of the misery in your mind. You are the witness of the misery in your mind. You are the witness of the absence of the misery in your mind. See, when you say, I am the witness of the misery in the mind, I am not miserable. मैं दुख के दृष्टा हूं, मैं दुखी नहीं हूं. When you say that, and when you notice that it's a fact, an amazing thing happens. The dukkha in the mind, the misery in the mind will go down. It will become attenuated, it will become thinned out, it will disappear. And there will be no more misery left in the mind. The moment you leave the mind alone, it behaves. So, the misery in the mind disappears, and you are now the observer, the witness of the absence of misery in the mind. You are the witness of the presence of misery in the mind. You are the witness of the absence of misery in the mind. At no time were you miserable. I am miserable, not correct. I am the witness of the misery in the mind. I am the witness of the absence of misery in the mind. I am the witness of thoughts, feelings, emotions. I am the witness of the absence of thoughts and emotions. So, this consciousness, this is, I am not the mind. This becomes clear. And then you push further. Ramana Maharshi says the ignorance, the nescience, that's the English translation. Unfortunately, I don't know Tamil, so I cannot have access to the original words. The ignorance or the avidya, which you feel, if you push beyond the mind, if you think that I am not the mind, then what is there? You'll find a blankness. You'll find a blankness, nothing, blank. And that blankness is avidya or ignorance, which is prior to the mind, which is prior to the body mind. I am not that also, because that is also an object. That is also drishya. That is also jada. I am the witness of that. Again, an experiential thing. It's not something, some speculative metaphysics. At this point, Ramana Maharshi stopped. Then, Shiva Prakasha Pillai asked, then what am I? If I am none of these things, then what am I? And Ramana Maharshi said, then that which is left over, the awareness of these things, that self I am. How does that help? Notice, all problems are in body, mind and world. All problems are in the world and the body and ultimately in the mind. Old age. Is it old age the problem of consciousness, or is old age the problem of the body? What problem of the body? Birth and aging and disease and death and coronavirus, problem of body. Frustration, desire, restlessness, unhappiness. My problem or problem of mind? Problem of mind, not my problem. I, the self, not body, not mind. I, the self, am free of the problems of body, mind. I'm free of all problems, all the time. I don't see it because I'm mixed up. I take the body and mind to be myself. Therefore, aging body, I am getting old. Miserable mind, I am miserable. Unfulfilled mind, I am frustrated. But they are all in the body mind, not in me actually. One sadhu in Uttarakhand said the way of Vedanta is, जो चीज जहां का है वहीं छोड़ दो. What belongs to what, you put it in that only. Don't put things which don't belong there. Put it in different places. The old age, disease, death belongs to the body. Don't put it in the Atman. Misery, unhappiness, restlessness belongs to the mind. Don't put it in the Atman. So the Atman, the self, you can give it any name. Ramana Maharshi simply says the awareness which is left over, that you are. Then comes a very interesting portion where if you see the questions asked by Shiva Prakasha Pillai, 4th, 5th and 6th questions, he asks, when will the realization of the self be gained? When will the realization of the self be gained? And Maharshi replied, when the world, which is what is seen, has been removed, drishya has been removed, then there will be realization of the self, which is the seer, of the drashta. Then the question was, will there not be realization of the self even while the world is there? Within brackets it is written, taken as real, very important. And Maharshi replied, there will not be. We will not have realization if you take the world here to be real. Then the 6th question, crucial question, why? Let the world be. The question is, let the world be. World is there, body is there, mind is there, let it be. You tell me what is the self. I asked you, who am I? And Vedanta says, I am Atman Brahman. You tell me that. You're Atman Brahman. Why are you denying the world and the body mind? That you are not the body mind. Ultimately, world, body, mind are not real. Why are you saying these things? Why not directly say that you are the Atman Brahman, something like that? And then Ramana Maharshi's answer, very interesting. The seer and the object seen are like a rope and snake. Just as the knowledge of the rope, which is the substratum, will not arise until the false knowledge of the illusory serpent goes, so the realization of the self, which is the substratum, will not be gained unless the belief that the world is real is removed. Tremendous answer. What he is saying here is, the question was, if I am the self, Chidananda Rupa Shivoham, I am consciousness, I am the nature of Shiva, say that. Why are you saying, I asked you, who am I? And you are saying, I am not the body, not the mind, not the Saptadhatu, not the Panchavayu, not the Panchagyanindriya, not the Panchakarmendriya, not Manas, not Buddhi, not Avidya. Why are you keeping on denying these things? Why don't you directly say that? It could have been directly said if the two were separate. If the world, body and mind is something separate and there is something separate called God, I could have talked about it. But the two are not separate. They are one and the same thing. That which you think of as the world, body and mind, that is exactly what I, Ramana Maharshi, am calling the self. You are mistaken and I have the right view of it. I have seen it as it is, or I know it as it is. You are making a big mistake out of it. Until the mistake is corrected, the right thing cannot be known. And he gives the example, rope and snake, the classic Advaitic example. There's a rope, by mistake you see it as a snake. Now, how will you know the truth that it is a rope? How will you know the truth? The only way of knowing the truth is to correct the mistake. The rope is not something separate. There is some snake here which is false and there's some real rope somewhere else. Then point out the rope and don't talk about the snake. It can't be done because the one second. The very thing which you are seeing as a snake is the rope. I must first show you it is not a snake. Then only you will realize the underlying truth. It's a rope. Why I found it so fascinating was more than 1,000 years, or 1,200 years before Shiva Prakash Pillai asked this question, Maharshi gave this reply. Adi Shankaracharya, in his commentary, Introduction to the Mandukya Karika, he writes exactly same language. In the introduction, he writes, this is Shankaracharya from the Introduction to the Mandukya Karika Bhashya. Yasya dvaita prapanchasya upashame advaita pratipatti rajvami vasarpadi vikalpopashame rajju tattva pratipatti tasya dvaitasya hetuta vaitatya pratipadanaya dvitiyam prakaranam. Mandukya Karika has 4 chapters. The second chapter is the chapter on falsity, Vaitatya Prakaranam, the chapter on falsity of the universe. Why are you talking about the falsity of the world? And many people get annoyed. This Jagat Mithya, world is false, world is like a dream. Why do non-dualists keep on saying that? Talk about Brahman, Atman, Bhagavan, whatever it is. Because Shankaracharya says in this exact same language which was echoed by Ramana Maharshi, it's the same language. He says, Rajvam iva sarpadi vikalpa upashame. Same snake and rope example he's giving. Sarpadi vikalpa upashame. It's only when the illusion of the snake, and he says, etc. Because the story goes that 3 friends were going, so it's somewhat dark, and they saw something lying on the ground. It was, of course, a rope, but they did not know it. And one friend made the mistake and said, it's a snake. Got scared. And the second friend made another mistake. He said, no, it's not a snake. It's a garland discarded from the temple. And third friend said, no, it's not a snake or garland. It's always been there. It's a crack in the earth caused by earthquake or something. So 3, Sarpa, Pushpamala, Bhuchidra, a snake, a garland, and a crack in the earth. All false. They're not, actually none of them is true. It's actually a rope. But these are vikalpa. These are imaginations, alternative imaginations imposed by the errors in the minds of these people. Only when it is corrected, only when someone says it is not a snake, etc., not a snake or a garland or a crack on the earth, then only the nature of that entity as rope will become clear. Rajju tattva pratipattihi. The realization of the rope nature of that thing will become clear only when that thing is negated, the snake is negated. Similarly, Shankaracharya says, Dvaita prapanchasya upashame advaita pratipatti. Non-duality, Advaita is realized only when Dvaita, this feeling of this plurality, duality and plurality are true, this is negated. Because they are one and the same thing. It is not that there is one Dvaita somewhere and one Advaita somewhere else. You talk about Advaita, leave the Dvaita alone. No. What you see as Dvaita is in reality Advaita. What we see in ignorance as Dvaita is in knowledge seen as Advaita. So that Dvaita has to be negated. There is no other way to realize Advaita. The not self has to be understood as not self. There is no other way of realizing the self. The snake has to be negated. There is no other way of realizing that it is a rope. So this, I was amazed to see Ramana Maharshi saying exactly, literally the same words used by Adi Shankaracharya so long ago in introducing Mandukya Karika. In the Mandukya Upanishad, the 7th mantra, in the Upanishad, we are told that this waking world, dream world, and deep sleep, this is not our real nature. This is what we experience. Our life, if we were to describe it phenomenologically, is our waking experience. I, with my sense organs, I see, hear, smell, taste, touch this world, which I take to be out there, waking experience. I am the waker. This is my waking world. And this, I think, is my identity. And then I fall asleep. And I have an entirely different experience, a dream world, every time different, every day something. So a dream world where new things are appearing, and I am the experiencer of that. So I am the experience, and that is experienced, I and the dream world. That goes away when I fall asleep, in deep sleep, blank. So an experience of uniform blankness. Jagrat Swapna Prapancha. And I'm the waker in that waking world, and the dreamer in the dream world, and the deep sleeper in the deep sleep world. And this one, yet all three, they are just like seeing the snake or the crack in the earth. They are like the or the flower garland. The reality is, I am the one consciousness appearing in these three pairs: waker and waker's world, dreamer and dream world, and deep sleeper and the deep sleep world. Blankness. So that fourth one, which later Gaudapada calls Turiya, which is the self of Ramana Maharshi, that Turiya I am. Now the interesting thing comes in the seventh mantra, when the Turiya is supposed to be spoken about, the self, Atma, is supposed to be revealed. Already up to the sixth mantra of the Upanishad, waking, dreaming, and deep sleep have been dealt with. And then the seventh mantra starts with Nanta pragyam na bahish pragyam na ubhayata pragyam na pragyana ghanam na pragyam na pragyam. The real self is not the dreamer, is not the waker, is not the deep sleeper, is not something in between, is not the omniscient consciousness of God, is not non-conscious, not this, not that, continuously is going there. And Shankaracharya asks in his commentary to this mantra, why not directly say what is Turiya? Why, when you're talking about waker, you directly said what is waker. When you're talking about dreaming, you directly said what is dreamer and dream world. When you're talking about deep sleep, you directly said what is deep sleep state. So talking about the Atman, directly state what is Atman. It cannot be done. Because the very thing which is now being experienced as waking, dreaming, deep sleep is the Atman when it is known truly as the consciousness, underlying one consciousness. So Vedanta moves in this way. First, Atma Anatma Viveka. Whether it is Panchakosha Viveka, like Ramana Maharshi has done in the first, and the answer to the question, who am I? The Avastatraya Viveka, which is done in Mandukya Upanishad, or Drigdrishya Viveka, various kinds, they are all Atma Anatma Viveka. First, we realize I am not the body mind. I am the underlying witness consciousness. Then this underlying witness consciousness is seen to be this infinite self. That is how it can be revealed, by the negation of the not self. So this is the very interesting. You have to read carefully between the words. It can be misleading. When will the realization of the self be gained? Shiva Prakash Pillai asks. And Maharshi replies, when the world is, that what has been seen, when the world has been removed. When we think that the world has been removed, our first way of understanding is that world has been removed means this all must go away and something else will be there in its place. Now, and then Ramana Maharshi says, it's not that the world will go away. You will still see the same thing. But now you know it as the self. That Satchidananda alone is appearing in all these ways. That will become clear. He says later on, the seer and the object seen are like rope and the snake. When you see drashta and drishya are like rope and the snake. The reality is the drashta, and like the rope, and like the snake, the appearance is the drishya, and that includes body and mind also. So that drashta, the self, the consciousness, that is the underlying reality, that can be realized only by investigating the drishya, that it is not I, it is not the reality. Knowledge of the rope, which is the substratum, will not arise unless the false knowledge of the illusory serpent goes. Is an important thing. The realization of the self, which is the substratum, will not be gained until the belief that the world is real is removed. Very important. That the belief that the world is real is removed. It is not that the world itself, the appearance of the world has to be removed. Often in spiritual life, what most people, the mistake or kind of the natural thing, we feel that I must forget the world. I must forget my body and mind. Then something will be revealed to me, which is Atma. Ramana Maharshi says, no, no, no. Not that. That's not what we mean. That thing itself, which you see as the world, that thing itself is the self, the Atman. Not out there. It is you, the self or the Atman, which appears in this form as the world, as the subject and the object, seer and the seen. Otherwise, what happens is, I will sit in samadhi. I will not know anything about the external world. I will not know anything about my family or my job, about my body, about my own mind. Just in quietness, I will sit, and that is what Ramana Maharshi has taught. No. Whether with eyes open or with eyes closed. In samadhi, same Atman. With eyes open and interacting with the so-called world, same Atman. This was Maharshi's Sahaja state. Continuous samadhi. Whether in actually mind is not stilled in samadhi, or even when mind is working. Yatra yatra mano yati tatra tatra samadhaya. Where even if the mind is working, it is still samadhi, in the case of somebody like Ramana Maharshi. Otherwise, the teachings are sometimes misunderstood. That so when you talk about manonasha, these are the terms which Ramana Maharshi used. It has to be carefully understood. Manonasha means negation of the mind as mind, but realization of it as the self, as Satchidananda. Manonasha means does not literally mean destroying the mind. So if you see, it's literally destroying the mind after enlightenment. When Ramana Maharshi or Vivekananda, they're walking around and talking, clearly the body is there, we can see. So is it a mindless body? Has the mind been destroyed? Is the brain must be there? If you do a scan, the brain you can see. So it is a brain without the mind, mindless brain? Not at all. After enlightenment, if the body is there, I mean, you can see externally from our perspective, if the liver is functioning and kidney is functioning, why will the brain not function? Of course, enlightenment does not mean damaging the body-mind. Enlightenment means realizing the underlying reality that Satchidananda alone appears as body and mind. If the body and mind are active, Ramana Maharshi has no problem. If the body and mind sit quietly in meditation and in samadhi, Ramana Maharshi has no problem. The misunderstanding is that spirituality or Advaita demands, I will not be active, I will sit quietly. I will not think, mind will be in samadhi. No, not like that. The same thing is realized as Satchidananda. Then if we go back to the third question, it will make sense. What is the nature of the self? What is the nature of awareness? So if I am not any of these, body, mind, then who am I? Ramana Maharshi said, I am the awareness which alone remains, that I am. What is this awareness? The nature of awareness is existence, consciousness bliss. So the standard Advaitic answer. It is not awareness in the sense we understand it now. We understand it as, what do we understand by awareness? If I say, give me some examples, what will you say? You say, I am seeing you. This is one type of awareness, a visual awareness. I'm hearing you, auditory awareness. Yeah, so sense organs, activity of sense organs, kind of awareness. Activity of mind, thinking, remembering, loving, hating. This is kind of awareness. So these are movements of body and mind illumined by awareness itself. So the awareness in itself is not particular awareness events. Pure consciousness is that which illumines all awareness events. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, loving, hating, remembering, forgetting, all of them are illumined and revealed by one unchanging light, the light of pure consciousness. That is what Ramana Maharshi means by awareness. It is not an objective thing. It is the pure subject without the least trace of Vishaya or object. What does he mean by existence? Sat. When we ask, if suppose I ask you, what do you mean by existence? We'll say, after all, give me some example. Oh, table exists, chair exists, man exists, woman exists. These are existing things. But what is existence itself? That's what Ramana Maharshi means. When Ramana Maharshi says existence, he does not mean that one more thing is there called self, Brahman. The existence of all things, whatever exists, is nothing other than a superimposition upon that underlying reality. So like if I say, if you look at water, like waves and bubbles and foam, I ask you, what is water? Water is not another wave. All waves, all bubbles, all foam in that ocean, they're all water. When I look at golden ornaments in a jewelry shop, necklaces, bracelets, rings, if I ask what is gold, gold is not one more type of ornament. This necklace, bracelet, ring, and one more thing is called gold. No, it is the reality of those ornaments. Similarly, existence, when Ramana Maharshi says the self is existence, He does not mean that tables and chairs and men and women are there and there's one more type of thing called self. No. The very thing which gives existence to table, chair, men and women, the reality of that, the being of that, like gold of the ornaments, like water of the waves. Similarly, existence of table, chair, men and women, that existence is Sat, and you are that, Tattvamasi. And then one more thing Ramana Maharshi says, I'll take some questions out there, I will quickly deal with that. Ananda. Ananda here, just like consciousness is not a specific consciousness events, existence is not specific existing things, but underlying existence, underlying consciousness. Ananda is not feelings of pleasure, is not some nice feeling, pleasurable feeling, that is Ananda. I eat one laddu, I get some bliss, and I become enlightened, I will get one more type of maybe bigger laddu bliss. Not like that. Not laddu Ananda. This Ananda itself is the one, is that which is manifested as all joys. Every feeling of fulfillment, of happiness, of joy, of bliss is nothing other than this Ananda filtered through a vritti of the mind. One good way of putting Ananda would be that complete fulfillment, Purnatvam, infinitude, the sense of not being limited at all. So the infinitude of Sat and Chit is Ananda. You are giving your own interpretation. No, from the Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Yo vai bhuma tat sukham, that which is infinite, the vast, that alone is happiness. Nalpe sukham asti. There is no happiness in the limited. In the limited, no happiness. The unlimited, infinite alone is happiness. Okay, let me quickly take a look at. So what I have done basically in this last 45 minutes or so, just the first few questions which Shiv Prakash Pillai asked Ramana Maharshi, the essence of the teachings. I have not gone into the actual methodology which Ramana Maharshi will speak about later, but the basic idea, who am I, what is the self, and why can't I talk about the self directly without negating the world, body, mind, that much. Let's look at the comments before we conclude. So, TV Murali asks, Swamiji pranams, what is the relationship between self and karma affected in the current birth, post-death of this body? No effect, no relationship, nothing. One sadhu in Uttarakhand said, what is the relationship between the self, Atma, and body and mind? And he said, kuch bhi nahi, murkhta matra. Foolishness alone is the relationship between self and body and mind. What is the relationship between rope and the snake? No relationship. It's an error. Between the real and the unreal, there can be no relationship. Between the existence itself, between the desert and the mirage water, no relationship. In one place, Shankaracharya says the grains of the desert, the sand, not even one grain can be wetted by all the water in a mirage, because there is no relationship possible. Now, karma. Karma is entirely within this world of Maya. Karma is the engine which drives this world of Maya. Self is not affected by it. But by self, if you mean the self under ignorance, where I take it to be body mind, that is entirely affected by the by karma. It is produced by prarabdha karma, and its effects of karma will be felt in this life and next life also. So that is the false self, ignorance of the self, identifying with body and mind. You, the real self, if you follow Ramana Maharshi's advice, you are free of karma. I like quoting Vivekananda on this. Swami Vivekananda wrote this poem, Song of the Sannyasin, where he says, good, good, bad, bad, and none escape the law. That is karma. We're talking about karma. Good karma, good result will be there. Bad karma, bad result will be there. And none escape the law. Then he says, whosoever wears a form wears the chain too. Wears the form means if you have a body identified with a body, then there is a chain. The chain will be around your feet also. What is that chain? Chain of karma. It will determine what happens to that body. But then Swamiji says exactly what Ramana Maharshi has been saying so far. He says, but far beyond name and form, our Atman is far beyond name and form, is Atman ever free? Know thou art that sannyasi bold. Say Om Tat Sat Om. So right now, here is this body, which is aging, which one day will get disease and one day will die. First of all, clearly, I am not this body. I am not this mind. Not only that, body and mind are also not real. They are appearances. I am the one reality in which body and mind are appearing. I am entirely free of the body and mind. Just as cinema screen, in a cinema screen, whether you show tragedy or comedy, whether you show volcano explosion or great flood, cinema screen is not affected. In worst of tragedy also, cinema screen will not shed one drop of tear. If you have a great flood, and all the water in the flood will not be able to make one drop of moisture on the cinema screen. If you have a great volcano explosion, all the fire in the volcano will not burn 1 square inch of the cinema screen, because there are two different levels of reality, Paramarthika and Vyavaharika. So they will, or in the case of cinema screen, Vyavaharika and Pratibhasika. Okay. Then Swamiji, you said that inquiry leads to, this is Neera Kashyap is asking, when you said when inquiry leads to a blank state, this is still avidya. Correct. How do we proceed from this state? Listen carefully. When you calm the mind down very much, the mind is very peaceful. Through meditation, prayer, or self-inquiry, mind becomes very peaceful, quiet. And you turn away from that mind. Suppose you shut down the mind, you will find a blank, nothing else. Just a blankness, a quietness, a blankness. Now, the blankness or quietness is appearing to something. It's also an experience. The blankness is also an experience. What is that blankness experience to? Something is experiencing that blankness. What is that? That is the witness consciousness. That is something to be known, not something to be done there. You are already that. Once you know that you are that witness consciousness which illumines that blankness, you'll know that it is also the same witness consciousness which illumines the intellect, the mind, and the prana, and the body. And through the body-mind, the entire world. So, how do we proceed from this state? Proceed within quotes. You don't proceed anywhere. You know that you are the witness of this blankness. Jagadish ji is asking, Swamiji, according to you, even after understanding various scriptures and sadhanas, that is the most common obstacle that keeps us away from self-realization. 3 stages: Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. At one point, if you say that I have understood the scriptures, I don't know various scriptures, Advaita scriptures, if you understand, Upanishads, then the deepening of that understanding is realization. See, this is a very, very big difference. There is no time to explain in detail. Every other scripture, whether in bhakti or in yoga, you have to read the scripture, learn from the teacher, and then practice it. Ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Unless you sit in asana, unless you practice the pranayama, unless you withdraw the senses and concentrate, all the reading will not help. No use. As Swami Vivekananda said, 1 ounce of practice is worth 20 tons of tall talk. Bhakti also, you must cultivate devotion, and you must go from ritualistic worship to prayer to prema bhakti and so on. That cultivation is there. In Vedanta, there is also practice, but the practice of a different sort. What is meant here is stay with the teachings. Ramana Maharshi's teachings in the Nanyar. What practice do you do? He has shown us, he has given us the teaching, listen to it carefully, stay with it, then he shows us the self-inquiry, stay with that self-inquiry. It is not a posture of the body, it is not a kind of breathing technique, it's not a kind of puja, it is not a kind of ritual, but it's also not just reading a book. Common obstacle that keeps us away from self-realization. So in Advaita Vedanta, the common obstacle will be twofold. One is called impossibility, which is called asambhavana. And the other one is called contrary tendencies, which is viparita bhavana. It's a long question. How do you deal with it? Asambhavana is when we hear all this, then our reaction might be, it sounds interesting, but it's impossible. These things, ye sab nahi hota hai. Then the solution to that, the correction to that is to keep on studying this and ask the question, why do I feel it's impossible? Which part is impossible? Which part is not correct? If you ask that and you see the teachings and you ask the teacher, you read the text, you will begin to see your doubts will be cleared. Once clarity is there, you must stay with that clarity. You must meditate upon it. Then it will become a living reality. Otherwise, the complaint will be, in Advaita, the general complaint is that samajh to gaya, lekin anubhav nahi hota hai. I understand it intellectually, but there's no experience. That is actually still a lack of understanding. So you stay with it, meditate with it, and then it must be expressed in life. Swami Vivekananda said, religion is the manifestation of the divinity already within us. Manifestation, not just knowledge. It must be, we must be able to express it in our lives and solve our problems. My unhappiness, my sense of limitedness, my frustration, after all Advaita, if that does not go away, then it's not successful. So I must be able to solve at least my personal problems after all this study and practice. Richa ji says, Swamiji, you said till the time of the witness, consciousness knows of another entity apart from itself. There will always be subject-object duality. Classical object, any thinking is activity or object. Maya. Does it mean the witness consciousness is inactive and devoid of knowing as an activity? Can we say that witness consciousness is knowledge itself? Yes, witness consciousness is knowledge itself. It's devoid of activity is not the correct way of thinking. Activity is possible for mind, for senses, for body. For consciousness itself, it is, the term activity cannot apply. It is the illuminer of all activity. All activity is possible because of consciousness. Consciousness itself does not do any activity. Activity is actually a limitation. Without consciousness, no activity is possible. But no activity belongs to consciousness itself. Vijay ji says, Swamiji Namaste, Bhagavan mentioned there are only two ways to know here: surrender unconditional and investigate vichara. Very beautiful. For this he says non-doership and giving up one sense of volition or individual ego is paramount. Elaborate a bit on this. We don't have time for that, but let me share a similar thing I heard from a sadhu in Uttarakhand. He said, do hi raste hain. Sanatan dharma mein do hi raste hain. In Sanatana dharma there are only two ways. What are the two ways? Jano ya mano. Either you know it or you believe it. Bhagavan says, you surrender unconditionally, surrender to the Lord will take care of it. Or you do inquiry. What is this? What am I? Who am I or what am I? That inquiry, and the method is given by Bhagavan. So there are only two ways. You surrender or you inquire. Or as that sadhu said, Jano ya mano. Very nicely put it. Jano ya mano. Jano is the path of inquiry. Mano means to believe it. Have faith and surrender. That is the path of unconditional surrender, bhakti, devotion. So these are the two main approaches. Vichaji says, Swamiji, please help us understand why do all realized Advaitins did duality inspire God puja until the end of their lives. Ramana Maharshi said the deity was Arunachala, Swami Vivekananda was the Kali Bhakta all his life. His masters attained moksha in their lifetime. Why did they propagate dualistic deity puja? Because you just mentioned that non-duality can be achieved at duality ends. Thank you. All right. Remember, after enlightenment, after realizing that I am the self, the same world appears. And when an enlightened master like Ramana Maharshi or like Swami Vivekananda, when they're apparently doing dualistic puja, whether to Arunachala Shiva or to Mother Kali, to Kali or Durga, in whichever form, they know it is the same reality. The same consciousness alone appears as worshipper and worshipped. There's a beautiful verse which says, Bodhat prak dvaitam mohaya prapte manishaya bhaktyartham kalpitam dvaitam advaitadapi sundaram. Very beautiful verse which says that before enlightenment, dualism or dvaita leads to confusion, to error. Dvaitam mohaya, to delusion. Prapte manishaya, after enlightenment, after that aham brahmasmi realization, I am this pure consciousness, then what happens? Bhaktyartham kalpitam dvaitam, an imagined duality. That person knows that I am not apart from Kali, I am not apart from Arunachala Shiva. I am Arunachala Shiva. That was Bhagavan Maharshi's deepest realization. But in this body, as Ramana, I am worshipping the ultimate reality, Arunachala Shiva. In this body, as Vivekananda, I am worshipping the Saguna Brahman, Ishwara of this universe, as Mother Kali, as Ma Kali. So this can be done. And it says, Bhakti Artham Kalpitam Dvaitam. This is an imagined duality. Why will you imagine anything? Bhakti Artham, for the sake of devotion. And why would you cultivate devotion? Advaita Sundaram. It is even more beautiful. There's an aesthetic beauty to it. After realizing the oneness of all things, then you imagine a duality and worship God there. The great non-dualistic masters have done that since ancient times. We find that in the Bhagavatam also. Do you have to do that? No, not necessarily. Some have not. Now, the one thing essential is to realize non-dual reality, that I am Brahman. Swamiji, who feels Ananda? As I said, Ananda is not a particular kind of feeling. It is the very infinite nature of yourself. But having said that, after realizing it, that the infinite nature of yourself, will you feel joy, happiness? Yes, that you will feel. That is the Jivan Mukta feeling, the fullness of realization in the mind. And remember, body and mind are appearances at that level. This is an interesting question, but you can see it in both ways. From the Paramarthic perspective, there's nobody to feel Ananda. You are Ananda itself. From the Jivan Mukta's perspective, you are full of bliss. You are very happy. Panchadashir explains this very well. Somebody is reading Swami Akhandanandaji's books. Excellent. Please read them. He was a great master of Advaita Vedanta. I mean, one of the greatest in the 20th century, I think, that India has produced. Master of Advaita Vedanta and the synthesis of knowledge and devotion. Yes. Thank you. I think I've dealt with all the questions and time is also up. Anuragji?
Swamiji. Swamiji, thank you so much for being with us. This was indeed a very, very blessed talk, and we really all enjoyed and learned so much. I'm sure there would be several requests coming in for subsequent sessions with you, which we will try and organize in 2021. May I now please request Shri Adarsh Kumar Bhatiani, our Vice President, to express his vote of thanks for your very kind talk.
Namo Ramana, Swamiji, Namaskar. On behalf of Ramana Kendra, Delhi, our President Justice Ramurthy, and the Managing Committee, I wish to thank you for this inspiring talk on Ramana Maharishi. We are very grateful to you of having taken out the time from your busy schedule, especially at this odd hour in New York. Swamiji, we all know of your popularity on YouTube and the following you have. Your talks are so absorbing that whenever anybody listens to it, you cannot stop it unless it's over. And thereafter, you want to listen to another talk. We are very grateful. On behalf of Ramana Kendra, I'm sending you a small framed picture of Maharishi, brochure on Ramana Kendra Delhi, and a booklet face to face. This book gives illustration of 350 people who came in contact with Ramana Maharishi. I'm really thankful for you for everything and look forward to another talks like this. Wishing you all the best in life. Namaskar.
Thank you, Adarsh Kumarji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. Thank you. May I now request Mr. Elangovan to express his devotion, as he has always done very kindly through bhajans. Mr. Elangovan.
Can we please have the video? I believe the host has, yeah, thank you. Namo Ramana. On this auspicious occasion of Bhagavan's Jayanti, Elangovan will render 3 devotional songs dedicated to Bhagavan Ramana. He will begin his musical offering with Padame. Padame is a composition in praise of Bhagavan, which says that his auspicious feet are like a lamp burning in the heart of devotee. Padame is in Ragam Dadbari Kannada, set to Adi Tala. Following Padame, Ilangovan will be rendering Annamale Tanil, a song he composed few years ago. The lyrics of this composition say that Bhagavan, who is compassion personified, has shown us the direct path, removing our ignorance from the roots. Annamale Tanil is in Ragam Maya Malavagole, set to Kandachapu Talam. Ilangovan will conclude his presentation with Arunachalatil, which talks about the immense peace that every devotee experiences on visiting Ramanashram. Arunachalatil is in Ragam Madhyamavati, set to Adi Talam. Thank you.
அருந்தவர் ஞானியின் கமல மலர் பாதம், கண்ணான பாதம், பொன்னான பாதம். அருந்தவர் ஞானியின் கமல மலர் பாதம், கண்ணான பாதம், பொன்னான பாதம். கிரிவலம் நடந்த பாதம், துன்பம் தீர்க்கும் பாதம். கிரிவலம் நடந்த பாதம், துன்பம் தீர்க்கும் பாதம். துதித்திடுவோரகம் புகுந்திட்ட பாதம், துதித்திடுவோரகம் புகுந்திட்ட பாதம். பாதமே கதி குரு ரமணா, உந்தன் பாதார விந்தமே ஆதாரமையா. கோவிந்த ரமணா திருசுழியில் அன்று தோன்றிய பாதம் அருணபுரியில் இன்று நடமிடும் பாதம். திருசுழியில் அன்று தோன்றிய பாதம் அருணபுரியில் இன்று நடமிடும் பாதம். நான் இருக்க பயம் ஏன் என்றவர் பாதம். நான் இருக்க பயம் ஏன் என்றவர் பாதம். உள்ளத்தில் தீபமாய் விளங்கிடும் பாதம். உள்ளத்தில் தீபமாய் விளங்கிடும் பாதம். பாதமே கதி குரு ரமணா உந்தன் பாதார விந்தமே ஆதாரமையா. பாதமே கதி குரு ரமணா உந்தன் பாதார விந்தமே ஆதாரமையா. கோவிந்த ரமணா கோபால ரமணா கோவிந்த ரமணா கோபால ரமணா. அண்ணாமலை தனில் வாழும் தெய்வமே ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. திருவண்ணாமலை தனில் வாழும் தெய்வமே ரமண தேவா. ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. அண்ணாமலை தனில் வாழும் தெய்வமே ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. கலியுக தெய்வமே கலியுக தெய்வமே கருணையின் சிகரமே. கலியுக தெய்வமே கருணையின் சிகரமே. கலையுணர் தெய்வமே காத்தருள வேண்டுமே. கலையுணர் தெய்வமே காத்தருள வேண்டுமே. கடமையுடன் உன் புகழ் பாடி வந்தோமே ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. கடமையுடன் உன் புகழ் பாடி வந்தோமே ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. அண்ணாமலை தனில் வாழும் தெய்வமே ரமண தேவா. ரமண தேவா. ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. மடமையை நீக்கி மாயைகளை போக்கி. மடமையை நீக்கி மாயைகளை போக்கி. நோய் நொடி அகற்றி நேர்மை வழி காட்டி. நோய் நொடி அகற்றி நேர்மை வழி காட்டி. தீராத கவலையை வேரோடு நீக்கும் ரமண தேவா. ரமண தேவா ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. திருவண்ணாமலை தனில் வாழும் தெய்வமே ரமண தேவா ரமண தேவா ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா ஸ்ரீ ரமண தேவா. அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம், அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம், அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம், அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். ரமணாசிரமம் 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 ரமணாசிரமம். அருளும் ஆசியும் வழங்கும் இடம் இது, பகவான் ரமணனின் புண்ணியஸ்தலம். அருளும் ஆசியும் வழங்கும் இடம் இது, பகவான் ரமணனின் புண்ணியஸ்தலம். அமைதியின் இருப்பிடம், ஞானத்தின் பிறப்பிடம். அமைதியின் இருப்பிடம், ஞானத்தின் பிறப்பிடம். அதுவே ரமணனின் திவ்யஸ்தலம். அதுவே ரமணனின் திவ்யஸ்தலம். அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம், அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். ரமணாசிரமம் 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 ரமணாசிரமம். எங்கும் கிடைக்காத நிம்மதி இங்குண்டு, எங்கும் கிடைக்காத நிம்மதி இங்குண்டு. தருவார் எங்கள் குருவே ரமணன். எங்கும் கிடைக்காத நிம்மதி இங்குண்டு. தருவார் எங்கள் குருவே ரமணன். ஈசனின் உருவாம் பகவான் ரமணன். ஈசனின் உருவாம் பகவான் ரமணன். ஆனந்தம் தருவார் வாழ்க்கை உயர. ஈசனின் உருவாம் பகவான் ரமணன். ஆனந்தம் தருவார் வாழ்க்கை உயர. அனைவரும் வாரி சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். அருணாச்சலத்தில் உள்ள சரணாலயம், அந்த சரணாலயம் பெயர் ரமணாசிரமம். ரமணாசிரமம், 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 ரமணாசிரமம்,
Ilangovinji, thank you so much. That was a very beautiful rendition. May I now request Jayanti Ayarji to express her devotion to Bhagwan.
Namo Ramana. Sri Shivaprakasham Pillai has written 3 books, and one is Ramana Padamalai, and these verses have been musically composed by Srimati Sulochana Nataraja as a 5 Pancharatnas. So I'll be doing the 5th Pancharatna, followed by Akshara Manamala. And these verses, at the end of every line, it says, Valdave, 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 Ramana Padam, Valdave. Valdave, Ramana Padam, Valdave, Ramana Padam, Valdave, Tidechuriyanam, Talade Vodita, Shalvar Padam, Valdave, Arunar Sundaramaya Petra Jagapadam Valdave, Ramana Padam Valdave, Ramana Padam Valdave. Sa 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 ni pa 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 ni sa ri ri gari gari ri sa ni ri pa ma ri gari sa ni sa kantan shanta piriya periyon adigal padavagave Padam Valdave, Padam Valdave, Ri Gari Ri Sa Sa Ri Sa 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 Ni Sa Ni Pa Ni Sa Ni Gari Ri Mare Ma Pa Pa Ni Sa Ni Pa Pa Mare Ba Ma Ni Pa Sa Ni Pa Ni Pa Mare Gari Sa Jyoti Maya Maya காட்சி அருளும் சுவாமி பாடவே ஆதி பகவன் அருளை பெற்ற பாதம் வாழவே பாதம் வாழவே பாதம் வாழவே மம ma mari ma pa ma pa ni sani ni pa ma pa sani sari sani ni sani ba pa sani pa mari re ga sa அறிந்தும் அறிந்தோனாக காட்ட அறிஞ பாதமாகவே சிறந்த பக்தி நெறி உணர்த்தும் செம்மல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே Pama pari gari ni sari gari re sari bani gari gari sari ma pa ni bani bani ni ma bani re sa sari sari gari re sa பாரங்களெல்லாம் பரமிசை போட்டு பக்தியாயவன் பாதம் நேரங்களெல்லாம் நினைத்திருவென்று உரை போன் பாத வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே நீ சனினே பம பசனினே சசபபனினே பமதி நிசனி ஹரி சனி சனி பாபா நிசாவனி பமரி ஹரி ச அஞ்சி அடைவோர் அபயம் அருளும் அண்ணல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே நஞ்சும் அமுதமாக கொள்ளும் நாதல் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே சரி கரி சனி சனி பாபா பனி சரி ரி சா கரி ரி காரி ரி கரி ரி கரி ரி பரி சனி சரி நிதா என்னோர் கருத்து மனம் அடக்கல் என்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே உன்னை காணவோ நூலே நின்று உரைப்போன் பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே ரமண பாதம் வாழ்கவே சத்குருவே கடவுளே ரமண குருபரனே அத்தனே அழகனே என்னுள்ளத்துறை வரதனே பாதம் வாழ்கவே சத்குருவே கடவுளே ரமண குருபரனே அத்தனே அழகனே என்னுள்ளத்துறை வரதனே பாதம் வாழ்கவே பாதம் வாழ்கவே பாதம் வாழ்கவே 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 அருணாச்சலவரற்கு ஏற்ற அக்ஷர மணமாலை சாற்ற அருணாச்சலவரற்கு ஏற்ற அக்ஷர மணமாலை சாற்ற கருணாகர கணபதியே கருணாகர கணபதியே கரம் அருளி காப்பாய் கரம் அருளி காப்பகையே கரம் அருளி காப்பாயே அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சலமின அகமே நிற்பவர் அகத்தை வெறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சல அழகு சுந்தரம் போல் அகமும் நீயும் முற்று அபிநமாயிருப்போம் அருணாச்சலா அகம் புகுந்தியே துன் அககுகை சிறையாய் அமர்வித்ததில் கொள் அருணாச்சலா ஆறு காயனை ஆண்டனை அகற்றிடு அகிலம் பழித்திடும் அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல இப்படி தப்புனையே நினைப்பித்தாய் இனி யார் விடுவார் அருணாச்சல ஈன்றிடுமனையின் பெரிதருள் புரிவோ இது ஊனதருள் அருணாச்சலா உனையே மாற்றி ஓடாதுள்ளத்தின் மேல் உறுதியாயிருப்பாய் அருணாச்சலா ஊர் சுற்றுல விடாத் உனை கண்டடங்கிட உன் அருளை காட்டருணாச்சலா உனையே மாற்றி ஓடாதுள்ளத்தின் மேல் உறுதியாயிருப்பாய் அருணாச்சலா ஊர் சுற்றுல விடாதனை கண்டடங்கிட உன் அழகை காட்டருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல என்னை அழித்து போல் என்னை களவாவிடல் இதுவும் ஆண்மை அருணாச்சல ஏன் இந்த உறக்கம் என்னை பிதறிழுக்க இது உனக்கழவோ அருணாச்சல ஐம்புல கழ்வர் அகத்தினில் புகும்போல் அகத்தினில் இல்லையோ அருணாச்சல ஒருவனம் உன்னை ஒளித்தவர் வருவார் சூதே இது அருணாச்சல ஓம்கார பொருள் ஒப்புயர்வில்லோய் உனையார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சல அவ்வை புலனுக்குள் அருளை தகனை ஆளுவதுள் கடல் அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி அக்ஷரமணமாலை வாழி 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 வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாச வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சூதாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே, ஏழுலகம் ஜீவன் முக்தி இன்பம் பொங்கவே, இதயமாகும் இறைவனாகி எல்லாம் ஓங்கவே, பாழ்மனம் அகந்தை வாழ்வு பாழ்பட்டொழிகவே, பரம சச்சிதானந்தாத்ம பால் பொழிகவே, வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாச வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சுதாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே, வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாச வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சுதாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே, தட்டிலாத நித்ய ஜீவ தத்துவம் ஓங்கவே, தட்டிலாத நித்ய ஜீவ தத்துவம் ஓங்கவே, தன்மயத்தில் சின்மயம் தழைத்து ஓங்கவே, தன்மயத்தில் சின்மயம் தழைத்து ஓங்கவே, எட்டு திக்கும் அம்ச சோகம் எதிரொலிக்கவே, எட்டு திக்கும் அம்ச சோகம் எதிரொலிக்கவே, எல்லாம் பிரம்மம் என்னும் உண்மை இறைவகிக்கவே, எல்லாம் பிரம்மம் என்னும் உண்மை இறைவகிக்கவே, எட்டு திக்கும் அம்ச சோகம் எதிரொலிக்கவே, எல்லாம் பிரம்மம் என்னும் உண்மை இறைவகிக்கவே, வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாச வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சூதாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே, வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாச வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, சூழ்க சூதாத்ம சக்தி சூழ்க சூழ்கவே, வாழ்க ஸ்வயம் பிரகாச வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, வாழ்க வாழ்கவே, வாழ்க வாழ்கவே.
Thank you so much, Jayanti Didi. This was wonderful.
Namaste.
Ranji, can you initiate Aarti, and I will now unmute everyone. We shall join in Aarti, please.
Om Bhuvaswava Vasudharvanyam Vasudevasya Dhimai Yo Yona Prachodayat कदलीफलं गोपीनम् अन्नदानं निवेद्यं समर्पयामि मध्ये मध्ये पानीयं समर्पयामि अमृतं समर्पयामि नीराजनं समर्पयामि नीराजनानन्तरम् आत्मनीयं समर्पयामि दीपार्थं समर्पयामि दीपार्थं समर्पयामि अक्षतां समर्पयामि कर्पूरं समर्पयामि एतस्य राजमादत्ते देवस्वामेदानी अभिषी भवन्ति एदावन्दो वै देवानां स्वाहा तैवास्मै स्वान् पैचन्ति तैनं मुनस्सवन्दे राजाय देवराजा भवति तत्र सूर्यो भादति चन्द्रतारकं नेमादित्यो भादति तमेवादि मन्वादि सर्वं तस्यैवासः सर्वं विदं विवादि कर्पूरं समर्पयामि ओम राजाधिराजाय प्रेस्यसायिने नमो वयं परिश्वराय कुर्मे
मान का मकामदीक्षम
वैश्वराय महाराजाय नमः कर्पूरं समर्पयामि समर्पयामि आचर्यं समर्पयामि ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम अरुणाचल रमणाय नमः पुष्प योबां पुष्पं वेदा पुष्पवान् प्रजावान् गजमान् भवति चन्द्रमा बाबां पुष्पं पुष्पवान् प्रजावान् गजवन्ति ॐ तद्ब्रह्मा ॐ तद्वायु ॐ तदात्मा ॐ तत्सत्यम् ॐ तत्सर्वम् ॐ तत्पुरो नमः अन्तर्चरति भूदेश भुवायां विश्वमूर्तिः त्वं यज्ञस् त्वं वसत्कारः त्वं इन्द्रस् त्वं रुद्रस् त्वं विष्णु त्वं ब्रह्म त्वं प्रजापति ओम तदा वो ज्योतिर्सो अमृतम ब्रह्म पूर्वस्तराम प्राणान प्रजयाने नित्याने के अमृतत्व मानसु परेण नाहं नितं भुवायं विप्राजते दत्ते योगि सन्ति वेदांत विज्ञान से विच्ඡदार्था संन्यास योगात्म शुद्ध सत्वा ते ब्रह्मलोके तुम परांत काले परामृता परिमुच्यन्ति सर्वे कारं विभावं परमेश्म भूतम् यत्पुण्डरीकं पुरमुख्य सगं सदं तत्रामित्तकरमं गगनं विसोगस् तस्मिन् यदन्तद्गजबाहुत्यं यो वेदान्तौ स्वरप्रभुतो वेदान्तस्य परमस्य परसमयेश्वरः मन्त्रपुष्पं श्रीरमणमहर्षिः समर्पयामि ॐ तत्सत् ब्रह्मार्पणमस्तु हरि ओम् हरि ओम् हरि ओम् यानि सभावानि निर्मात्र कृतानि च तानि दानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदर्शन पदे पदे
This brings us to an end towards the Jayanti celebrations. Thank you everyone for joining in. Namo Ramana. I will be sharing the YouTube link with everyone later. Thank you.
Ramana, everyone. Thank you, Narayanji. Thank you. Thank you, Bhagwan. Thank you, Anuragji. Thank you, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.